If one does not understand a person, one tends to regard him as a fool. The healthy man does not torture others, generally it is the tortured who turn into torturers. Find out what a person fears most and that is where he will develop next. Sometimes you have to do something unforgivable just to be able to go on living. When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. The word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. We are not what happened to us, we are what we wish to become. It all depends on how we look at things, and not how they are in themselves. The majority of my patients consisted not of believers but of those who had lost their faith. Faith, hope, love, and insight are the highest achievements of human effort. They are found given by experience. People don't have ideas. Ideas have people. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. Often the hands will solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. The creative person has little power over his own life. He is not free. He is captive and driven by his daimon. Life is a battleground. It always has been, and always will be, and if it were not so, existence would come to an end. Every transformation demands as its precondition the ending of the world, the collapse of an old philosophy of life. Whatever we look at, and however we look at it, we see only through our own eyes. One of the main functions of organized religion is to protect people against a direct experience of God. The secret is that only that which can destroy itself is truly alive. Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul. Neurosis is the suffering of a soul which has not discovered its meaning. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. Man needs difficulties, they are necessary for health. The life that I could still live, I should live, and the thoughts that I could still think, I should think. Every human life contains a potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, that life was wasted. All the works of man have their origin in creative fantasy. What right have we then to depreciate imagination? I feel it is the duty of one who goes his own way to inform society of what he finds on his voyage of discovery. The dream shows the inner truth and reality of the patient as it really is, not as I conjecture it to be, and not as he would like it to be, but as it is. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved but only outgrown. One of the most difficult tasks men can perform, however much others may despise it, is the invention of good games. A true symbol appears only when there is a need to express what thought cannot think or what is only divined or felt. Much of the evil in this world is due to the fact that man, in general, is hopelessly unconscious. Our suffering comes from our unlived life, the unseen, unfelt parts of our psyche. The psychopathology of the masses is rooted in the psychology of the individual. Ultimately, everything depends on the quality of the individual, but our fatally short-sighted age thinks only in terms of large numbers and mass organizations. If you cannot understand why someone did something, look at the consequences, and infer the motivation. I simply believe that some part of the human self or soul is not subject to the laws of space and time. How difficult it is to reach anything approaching a moderate and relatively calm point of view in the midst of one's emotions. Man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. Heaven has become for us the cosmic space of the physicists. But the heart glows, and a secret unrest gnaws at the roots of our being. One could say, with a little exaggeration, that the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is. Like plants, so men also grow, some in the light, others in the shadows. There are many who need the shadows and not the light. Our heart glows, and secret unrest gnaws at the root of our being. Dealing with the unconscious has become a question of life for us. The goal of psychic development is the self. There is no linear evolution, there is only a circumambulation of the self. Most people confuse self-knowledge with knowledge of their conscious ego personalities. Anyone. We can keep from a child all knowledge of earlier myths, but we cannot take from him the need for mythology. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams; who looks inside, awakens. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Only in the first hour of the night can I become human, while the male dove is busy with the 12 dead. The man who looks only outside and quails before the big battalions has no resource with which to combat the evidence of his senses and his reason. The dream gives a true picture of the subjective state, while the conscious mind denies that this state exists, or recognizes it only grudgingly. I do not forget that my voice is but one voice, my experience a mere drop in the sea, my knowledge no greater than the visual field in a microscope.